your different is cool. Your different is cool. It might not be seen at, a specific time, but like if you learn to trust your ideas and like your unique voice, you actually ultimately get to build something very solid. So I think go with what you trust and believe in.
From Corner Judah and DeBeers, Imene Msindiswe Seed, Umvelise Mnyango Meliswe Sidwe, formerly known as Razi Madonsela, bringing you a show about creative entrepreneurs live from the landmark that not only birth SA street culture, but also formalize the street hustle.
Corner Judah and DeBeers, special edition. We got the Rusty Dusty edition. We got Studio P, Omphile. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Razi?
I'm blessed and highly favored, man.
Awesome.
You're a jewelry designer all the way from Rustenburg. You go to PTA, you go study it. You come to Joburg, you take over
Research
Brown.
boys.
Hey, we are students of the game. You come to Joburg, you take over the streets of Brum, you infiltrate the creative scene.
Yeah.
You're now no longer just a jewelry maker, you're an influencer, taste maker. How's that journey been for you?
Wow, what an intro. It's been very amazing. I think a lot of things are coming like full circle right now, so it's very humbling. Yeah, very humbling experience. And I think when you have to like look back where you started and how far you've come, mind blowing.
If you've been on the journey with P, comment P in the comments, quick, push
Let's
P.
go.
That's what I need first. Secondly, you now figure out who you are. Because at the beginning, you just like, I like jewelry.
Yeah.
What does it take to be a jewelry designer?
Yeah.
Who DeBeers knows?
Wow. I think, first of all, when people are like, oh, this chose me, I feel like I'm about to be like, this chose me. But I really didn't plan on being a jewelry designer. I sort of wanted to land in the creative space just because I grew up as a very talented, creative kid, right? But I didn't know what art form was I gonna do. So somewhere in my final year of high school, actually, I get this hectic feeling that I need to go into the creative world. So I just changed my life then, right? And then I decided to kind of look into like creative careers, and I sort of like end up going to UJ. I actually started there. So I start there. That's where I discovered jewelry design, right? So we get to the department, somebody meets us at the entrance and they're like, would you like to walk in? Wara, we go in, they show us like a amazing neck piece and they show us this was made from that. I mean, the raw material looked so, you wouldn't think that came from that. So for me, that was very fascinating. I was like, what? This thing could be made out of that? That's quite a transformation. So I was keen. So I was hooked that moment. I was like, it's almost like I wanted to truly prove that I could make that from that. So that's how I got into it. So I say, this is it. I want this one. And I think because I hadn't seen it before, that's where the biggest fascination came from. So I just applied and that was it. So went from UJ, deregistered, went to TUT. Like my studying journey is quite lengthy, but that's just how I got into it.
There's kids at home right now, right? They go into school. They figured the career path they want to be in. They're in varsity. They're about to finish.
Yeah.
What would you say for you at that moment was the thing that said, okay, cool, I can independently do this post-varsity? Because even me, when I was in varsity, at some stage I was like, hey, dog, am I really going to make films? I like fashion, but I don't think I want to pursue it at that level yet. I like art, I don't want to pursue it at that level yet. This degree that I'm on right now, how can I independently use the skills I've gotten from it to create my own business?
Yeah, I think for me, while I was still studying, because I had started in UJ, I kind of saw where my flaws were. And I saw, if I go this way, I'm not gonna really go far. So I had learned my lessons. So giving it a second try in like TUT, I came in with a strategy, literally. I was like, first year, I'm just going to school, I'm a normal kid. Then from second year, I'm building contacts. So those would eventually be my clientele. So I was like socializing and just connecting with people as much as I could.
They're gonna fight me when they see me in person. They're gonna say, "What does it mean to build contacts? What does it mean? How does one go about it?" I'm in second year now.
Yeah.
It's July.
Yeah.
How do I build contacts?
I think personally, I leaned into my strengths because I know I'm a very social person. So I was like, I'm already in spaces anyway. I like going out and all of that. But one thing I've realized is that people don't take interest in you, or in what you do rather, before they take interest in you. That's what I learned. So I wasn't even going around saying, hey, I'm a jewelry designer at the time. I just connect with people in the space. And then after that, they found you interesting enough to actually discover more about you. I suppose I just was an interesting person. But then my thinking was the spaces that I'm in, that I already like going to and that I like discovering, I'm going to turn all of that into, I'm going to turn all of them into my clients. That was my thinking. So I think it's unique to me in that sense, I don't think I can give a formula in terms of do this, do that. I leaned more into my interests. So that's just how I kind of started everything. But I already knew that I'm not gonna work for anybody. That's one thing I knew while I was now in second year or whatever. I was like, it's not happening. And that wasn't, it wasn't I want to be my own boss type of chat. It was I was already exposed to the jewelry industry, and I was seeing the things that happen within the industry, and I was like, I don't want to be subjected to that. So I knew I needed to create my own. And I also feel like what I wanted to create, although I couldn't put it into words, I wasn't seeing in my industry.
Sure.
So I knew I needed to create that. So that's kind of what directed me, so to speak. Yeah.
You get this big at independently doing it yourself. What was the branding behind it? Because sometimes we have brilliant ideas. We figure out the technical, now I can make the jewelry, I can do 1, 2, 3. How do I brand myself? What is my brand?
I think, wow, this is where I give somebody else their flowers now. I think I was just social, creative, but then I met a friend, so long ago. I met a friend on Facebook even, right? So we start chatting, and she's from Harris Smith, Busisiwe Skosana, aka Miss Manager. She wasn't really managing artists then, but we sort of started a relationship. We talked, and over the years, you get more acquainted with somebody. But she turned out to be like a brand strategist, right? And she actually said to me, I see you have something, and you exude so much passion. It's not a lot of people that I meet that touch me on that level. So she's like, I'm literally gonna take you under my wing for a year, and I'm gonna teach you about branding, how to brand yourself, and maybe your business and all of that. So she was like, I see what you have going on in Pretoria. People are already buying your stuff and all of that. But I was now moving to Joburg, right? And she's like, come to the north side, baby. Let me teach you how to take these people's money. She was like, it's not like I've worked with a jewelry designer before. There aren't a lot of you guys, but I can see something happening here. So she literally taught me everything that I know right now. She got me under her wing, and for a solid year, she was just teaching me. And sometimes she would throw me into all these moments where she needed to see me in action, to see that, Vele, this person is learning something. So she would just throw me into the the deep water, and I have to swim, and figure out things. And I kept going, eventually we came out of that, and now I needed to go on my own, and I kind of like applied the same teachings from her, and I needed to be patient in the strategies that she had given as well. So shout outs to her big time, because honestly, Studio P doesn't exist without Vusi. Yeah.
Studio P, you build it, you leave varsity.
Yeah.
What are the steps after that?
After that, I think, so my journey has been interesting in the sense that as much as I didn't want to really like work for anybody, I actually took part in a lot of things that were a part of like, maybe our curriculum while we were studying, like, design competitions and all of that. And I did really well in them. So they kind of like launched me into the real world, right? So as I'm doing my own side things, being cool on the streets, selling to this person and that person, I was also like out here, like being a finalist for like a couple of design competitions. So when I leave varsity, I'm already like, I have all these amenities, Hey, rent paid for 2 years, intern with this established jeweler, Rosebank, wara. So that also kind of like helped me launch into the real world, still learning what I needed to learn after school, right? And then while I'm doing, my thing is, I've never been, I feel like I have like a dual mind. I've never thought of like, this is it, I'm here, sharp, or I'm interning, that's it. Even when I was interning, I was selling like crazy. I was still selling stuff to people, right? And I remember even at that point, I'm chatting to my boss, I suppose, at the time, and coming into the like intern space, of course, you had projects you needed to do. I dusted off those things as quick as I could possibly get them done. And I jumped straight into my own things. So I would say to him, I have clients. I need to do 1, 2, 3, and I think it also helps to invest in yourself too. Because I had clients, when I'm at work, I'm using the studio to do whatever I needed to do, but I'm communicating with the boss to say that, and I'm not gonna sit here the whole day and do nothing. I have stuff to do. And then back in my apartment, I had also started, I bought like a workbench. That's what I was doing, which is crazy because I still use the same workbench today, but like I needed to keep myself busy, but I just believed in this so much that I just couldn't sit still. Like I was just so busy. I was a busybody. So sometimes I wouldn't come into work, but I'm at my apartment doing work. So then, I've been working from home since like 2018.
I was about to say you invented work from home.
I've been working from home since 2018. So
you work, you intern, you've studied, you figured out the business. You get the big call, the one call every creative prays for.
Yeah.
The good folks at Nike say,
oh,
pull through. Let's do something.
That was interesting because so I don't know if we can mention other. Yeah.
Do your thing.
So Pandit was doing a thing with Nike, but then they needed to
Shout out LSG.
Shout out. So they needed to source, I guess, find talent, and they found my contact and they were like, we're doing this 1, 2, 3 with Nike. We really want you on this. And you know what? I think in the beginning, the budgets, we're chatting budgets now, and they're like, could we negotiations? And they they pulled through. And that's when I also meet like a representative from Nike, and then we just, have real chats, and then that's how I kind of got into the project. But very interesting times, I think, also for the sort of art that I do. I think this speaks to how I think when you also enter the industry or like just the creative world, you see yourself in a specific way. And I didn't see a lot of, I mean, there aren't a lot of jewelry designers to begin with, but I was like, oh man, I'm so tired of like seeing illustrators, whatever, getting all these cool campaigns and whatever. I sort of made it my responsibility to also like tap into that, just so I can show like kids that are coming after me in the jewelry space that, hey, you don't really have to go the traditional way. There's also this, like, lean more into your interests. Because for me, all these sneaker related brands as well is like, it speaks to, I was drawing sneakers like crazy actually when I was in uni. I was drawing, my room was so full of sneakers. So for me to be, you know, affiliated in some way with like, you know, these sneaker brands, for me that's also full circle, because maybe not a lot of people know that I used to be so obsessed with sneakers, but I know where I come from, so that it makes sense to me, you know? Yeah.
You do the jobs. How do you figure your pricing when it comes to working with large scale? Because for me, I've always had this thing where like, you're a multi-international company. I'm not negotiating.
Release the coins.
Like release the coin.
Yeah. I think earlier on, while I was still studying, you know what? I think also our lecturers did a brilliant job. There's like one lesson I cannot forget where the lecturer teaches us how to price, but he's not really like giving you a formula, but he's teaching that actually your prices are your prices. You can charge whatever you want. So I think from that lesson, I sort of like, I've always been going crazy with it. You know, I don't really like subscribe to what's the industry charging for 1, 2, 3, because listen, now I know about branding, you know, I know about brand affinity, and I'll take advantage of that. And I'm just like, as long as I'm not working at a loss, I know I'm doing good. Yeah. So pricing for me, you just figure it out, I guess. Just don't work at a loss.
I hear the brand chats, the working at a loss. There's a moment that I saw on WhatsApp this year from you. It's the most beautiful moment.
Let's block him this one.
You go back and you start giving guest lectures.
Oh,
how was that for you? Oh, you thought I was going to talk about your relationship? That's
no,
crazy.
not even. Not even. Wow. That was quite something. Another full circle, a hectic full circle, that one. Wow. I remember even going to the first one, right? So the first one was Cape Town, Stellenbosch. I remember when I was leaving for the airport that morning, like suddenly I got so emotional. Oh my God. I think from last year, I had been working on this thing so that it really truly happens, going back and forth to like the DeBeers offices and all of that. But when it actually started happening, I think I was still fine. I was okay. I was like, yeah, this is happening. Also, everything was just happening so fast, right? Then that one morning where I had to fly out, I got super emotional. I think I was just realizing that, oh my God, this is actually happening. And I think for me, it was like a first of many for me. And I think that's how my career has literally just been a lot of firsts. And me realizing that, oh my God, this is also another first, but how we've had a long-standing relationship with DeBeers, from them being my sponsor at some point to like now, you know, doing, I think now there's like room for like exploration, creativity, because I mean, these people know me from I don't know, I was probably 20 or whatever. So it's like a long time, and they've seen also what I've been able to like do for myself, how I've grown. So now, you know, they trust your voice more, you know, because they've seen all of that. They've seen you throughout the years. So it's easier for them to also be like, yo. But I think more than anything, they have trusted my unique voice. So even when I got into, when I became a finalist for the design competition for the first time, I was still such an anomaly because what they were going for and what I showed, you know, my capabilities were still very different to what they are used to. It was very different, but they were like, we think there's something here. And, you know, they gave it a shot.
I think the one time for me, I was like, damn, PEP's gone.
Yeah.
It was Pantone Sundays. Because that was the first of its kind where it's it was a jewelry exhibition where I wouldn't call it merch because those are pieces you make, but to a certain extent because of the repeat level of it, it becomes merch. You enter in your Jacob the Jeweler, your icebox era where there's a signature piece with your signature logo and distribution. How was that like for you?
That was really, really, really amazing because I feel like I made it out the mood board, right? I had this mood board I used to obsess over. And the mood board was centered around a piece, the Gulliver piece. I call it the Gulliver, right? So this is a chain with like a mask. I liked that piece so much, and I had this mood board going on for at least like maybe a year and a half, and that mood board finally made it out of the phone, basically. You know, with Pantone, we realized that we turned it into a real thing. So for me, when I actually planned to do a pop-up.
Yeah.
With like that centered around the whole mood board. But then when Pantone hits me up, I'm like, oh my God, here's a platform to do it. You know, I don't have to do it on my own. And that meant so much for me. And, you know, I think I couldn't have executed it like any better. Like, that was awesome. That was really great.
Now that you get hit up for these things, how do you manage relationships and expectations?
I think my approach to like managing relationships, you know how somebody like saying, I think MK said this on the previous part, right? He said, the Nike logo is not speaking to me, I'm speaking to a human. So these are humans, and I like approaching people from a human level. Like when I first meet you or whatever, like I'll try to connect with you beyond we're just doing this work thing. Like I actually sort of like want to know you. I want to be able to have chats with you. It's like, it's really like that for me. So it's based on just like how we connect as well. I mean, it's not always that we will connect on a personal level first, you know, but like working your way, you know, to like a comfortable place somehow, you know. I think also working with people, I'll say, for example, working on Pantone, it's like, you know, we know it's Mama Gashaka, but like, it's like now you're dealing with the person Nandi, right? And everybody else in the team, right? There's a level of like vulnerability there. Like I'm doing a pop-up for the first time, you know, it's like, that's not my language, but it's their language. So it means I have to open up about things I don't know. I'm not sure how to do this. And I think that's personal. It kind of takes you to like a very, you know, you kind of like open up and become so truthful to the next person because we need to achieve 1, 2, 3. So I think you need to just communicate, relate on a human level. That's just my approach.
Communicate, relate, human level. You're doing this thing. Now they like competing brands want the same thing at the same time. Have you learned to space things out or to actually be like Kith? Because I think you're entering your Kith era. It's like, we can operate now.
I want to give you
let's
a
also
high
operate
five
with
for
that.
because that's actually low-key my vision. I remember even when I discovered Kith, the fact that he actually just wanted one store. And that's high-key me. I want one studio. I don't believe in stores, so to speak. I sort of like want a studio where, you know, if you're flying from LA, you're coming to South Africa, you need to make a turn at Studio P. So yeah, I think that's just like how I look at it. But I also, in terms of like, you know, competition, wanting the same thing, I don't truly think we want the same thing because what we're selling could be the same, so to speak, in terms of like maybe product, but I think vision is so personal, right? So even if you're in the same space that I'm in, you don't want it like me, and I don't want it like you. So I think that's like where the golden thread is at. Yeah. So I tend to exist in a bubble where I ignore everything else. Like, I don't care who's doing what. I'm just like focusing on my own.
How are you dealing with the brands all approaching you for the same thing at the same time?
I mean, you can't take everything, but also there's sometimes things don't have to happen at the same time, but they can happen like maybe throughout the year. So like spacing things out is also an option, and sort of like picking what best aligns with you. That I think that's always the thing, because come on, if 100 podcasts went to record a podcast with me, like, nah, we're not doing all of them, because ultimately you're filtering to whatever feels like more aligned to what you're trying to do. So that's it. That's the approach. Yeah.
P, what's your word to the youth?
My word to the youth. My word to the youth is, I would say, not being scared to be different. You know, I think your different is cool. Your different is cool. It might not be seen at, you know, a specific time, but like if you learn to trust your ideas and like your unique voice, you actually ultimately get to build something very solid. So I think go with what you trust and believe in, and keep going. I think so. Yeah.
After the pop-up, I think my follow-up question was, I had it in my head, but it got too fun when we met.
Yeah.
I had it in my head, but it was like, is the move now to just do fast-moving goods? Because you also have the come to the studio, let's do the thing properly.
Yeah.
But are you moving in the direction of like, now we're trying to do fast-moving as well?
I think most people, when we think scaling, right, you know, then we get to like moving product fast and in large numbers, right? I think every time I try to explore with like, I want to call them generic designs where, you know, multiple people can just consume that, right? I just sort of like, I'm always brought back to custom. Like, I'm always doing custom designs, and like, at first I tried to fight it. I was like, yeah, no, I could sell, you know, I don't know, 1,000 pieces or more and whatever. But then I also realized that it's everything. It's not just the product. People like, you know how we say, you know, we're selling stories. People like that whole, I need to know the designer vibe. And I think custom designs bring you much closer than, you know, fast moving goods. You know, I think ultimately in every direction I try to push, because I think I've done, even when I look at the pieces, like the Guluva piece, with that piece, I was trying out if, I had more generic designs, how people are going to like receive that, Yeah, at first it was quite a hit, but like not as much as customs. So I'm constantly being brought back to custom pieces, and at this point I've made peace with it. Like I've made so much peace with it. Yeah, I'm like, okay, and besides also just making peace with it, I've started enjoying it also in the last 2 years or whatever. I think at first I was resisting so much, and then I actually really started falling in love with it. Yeah.
This is a question I really ask, but I love asking it. What do you think the game owes you this year?
This year, a whole lot of money. I need a whole lot of money. I need a lot of opportunities. Listen, I think brilliant things are happening for me right now for Studio P, but there's never enough.
To anyone who can possibly fund whatever you're thinking about, do a minor pitch. I think since we're all business people, let's start elevator pitching.
A money pitch is a little hectic for me, but maybe name dropping brands that I'm keen on doing something with. Spotify. You don't know how a jeweler would do a thing with Spotify, right?
No, I just know Spotify is listening.
No, actually, it's a real dream. I have something very specific, and I see that as an ongoing project, like every year, and I think it's really cool. And yeah, Spotify, Jaeger. I got these ideas. Sometimes you have these ideas in your notepad, and they need to make it out the notepad.
You know what's crazy?
Yeah.
You know what's my ideal partner? Vaseline.
Vaseline.
And sunlight.
Listen, sunlight. I want to high five you. Nah, you know what? I actually hit sunlight up, and they're like, oh, yeah. I'm like, you're not seeing the vision. I already did.
It's too early for you.
It's too early, but I already did. Because I used the product so much, actually, for many years. So I see the alignment there, yeah. But off of the top of my head, yeah, those would be it. I'm sure there's deeper stuff, but also, okay, I'm already working with DeBeers, right? But I have such a brilliant idea. DeBeers, shelf life. That one, I need to make it happen.
Hey, Jacob, be a snake about it.
Be a snake about it.
For the Juten DeBeers.
Omphile
from Studio P.
Away.
Buy your grills.
Buy your grills, guys.
Buy the Guluva.
Buy your Guluva.
And stay shining.
Away.
Thank you.